My sister asked me for a job, but my parents demanded I make her co-owner of my business. So I told them she couldn't work for me because of their interference. My sister Lana has been through hell over the past few years. 29, she's a recovering alcoholic who's been struggling with mental health issues and has 2 DUI misdemeanors that have made finding steady employment nearly impossible. When I see her fighting so hard to get her life back on track, it breaks my heart because I know she's capable of so much more than what addiction has reduced her to. I run my own seamstress business, nothing huge or glamorous, just me doing alterations and selling some clothes I've designed. It's been open for 2 years now, and while I'm comfortable, I still have to watch my budget carefully. The alterations work is really what keeps me afloat financially, but I love what I do, and I'm proud of what I've built entirely on my own. Last Monday, during our regular family dinner at my parents' house, I was watching Lana talk about her ongoing job struggles and her fears about staying sober while dealing with the stress of unemployment. That's when I made what I thought was a generous offer. She could come work for me doing inventory, running the register, and helping with basic customer service tasks, just like any other employee, but in an environment where I could support her recovery and she wouldn't have to worry about losing her job if she had a rough day or needed extra mental health support. Lana seemed genuinely excited about the opportunity, though she said she needed to think about it because she didn't want to feel like she was taking advantage of our family relationship. My parents were incredibly enthusiastic and supportive, talking about how this could be a fresh start for her and how wonderful it was that we could work together doing something we both loved. I thought everything was settled, and we even agreed that I'd conduct a proper interview with her at the end of the following week on my day off. I wanted to maintain professional boundaries and make sure she understood this would be a real job with real expectations, not just a family favor. Then Wednesday morning, my mother called with a question that completely blindsided me. She asked when we would be putting the building lease in both Lana's and my name, since she would be co-owner of the business. I was so confused that I asked her to repeat what she'd said, because surely I had misunderstood. My mother explained that since Lana would be co-owner, naturally her name should be on all the official business documents. I immediately corrected her, explaining that Lana wouldn't be co-owner of anything. She would be an employee, exactly like I'd described at dinner. The reason I wanted to hire her was specifically so she could have job security during her recovery, not so she could take over half of everything I'd worked to build. My mother spent the next 20 minutes trying every angle she could think of to convince me to make Lana co-owner. She talked about family loyalty, about giving Lana a real stake in something meaningful, about how it would be good for both of us to share the responsibility. I kept repeating that this wasn't happening, not only for the sake of my business, but for Lana's sake as well. She's still fairly unstable in her recovery, and the stress and pressure of running a business could easily trigger a relapse. When my mother finally seemed to accept that I wasn't changing my mind, I thought the conversation was over. A few hours later, Lana called to ask about the specific details of what she'd be doing if I hired her. I repeated exactly what I'd told her at dinner: inventory, register work, customer service, basic shop maintenance. She asked if she'd be helping with any of the actual sewing or design work, and I told her that once she learned to sew properly, I'd consider letting her help with simple projects. She seemed perfectly happy with this arrangement and was genuinely excited about working in fashion, even in a supporting role. We confirmed that the interview would happen as planned, and everything felt like it was moving in a positive direction. Then my father called yesterday, and immediately I knew something was very wrong. His voice was harsh and angry in a way I rarely hear from him, and he started lecturing me about the position I was putting Lana in by offering her such a menial job. He basically repeated everything my mother had said, but in a much more aggressive and demanding tone, insisting that I needed to give Lana a higher position with real authority and ownership. I was getting increasingly frustrated because they were completely missing the point of what I was trying to do for Lana. This wasn't about giving her charity or keeping her busy. This was about providing her with stable employment in a supportive environment where her recovery could continue without the additional stress of worrying about job security. Finally, I lost my temper and told my father that if he and my mother wouldn't stop pushing me to do something I wasn't comfortable with, I simply wouldn't hire Lana at all. The words came out in the heat of the moment, but I meant them. I wasn't going to let my parents manipulate me into making business decisions that could harm both Lana and everything I'd worked to create. My father's response was to call me a terrible sister before hanging up on me. The accusation stung because everything I was trying to do was specifically because I love Lana and want to help her succeed. How could wanting to protect her from unnecessary stress and pressure make me a bad sister? I immediately called Lana to explain what had happened and to apologize for saying I might not hire her. I was honest about my frustration with our parents' interference, but I also reassured her that I still very much wanted her to work with me. She understood why I was upset, but she was also hurt that I would even threaten to withdraw the job offer, even in anger. The whole situation felt so unfair. I was trying to do something kind and supportive for my sister, and somehow I'd ended up being painted as the villain by my own parents. They were treating my business like it was some kind of family resource that should be shared equally, rather than something I had built through years of hard work and careful planning. What made it even more frustrating was that my parents know exactly how Lana is doing in her recovery. She's living with them right now. They see firsthand that she's still working on basic stability and isn't ready for the kind of responsibility and pressure that comes with running a business. Yet they were demanding that I ignore these realities and hand over co-ownership of something that represents my entire livelihood. Couldn't understand where this was coming from because both my parents had always been incredibly supportive of my business. They helped me find the building, assisted with moving equipment when I first opened, and had always respected my decisions about how to run things. This sudden entitled attitude about what I owed Lana was completely out of character for them. After thinking about it overnight and talking with Lana, I decided I needed to have a family meeting to get to the bottom of what was really going on. Lana had spoken with our parents and suspected that a lot of this was coming from a place of fear and stress rather than genuine entitlement, so she invited me over for breakfast the next morning so we could all talk things through. The breakfast conversation was awkward at first, with my parents still insisting that Lana deserved a better position than I was offering. But as we kept talking, the real issues started to come to light. Lana was able to explain that she genuinely didn't feel ready for co-ownership of anything, and that the pressure from our parents was actually making her more anxious about the job opportunity. She pointed out that their pushiness was affecting her relationship with me and forcing her to feel like she had to choose sides in an argument she never wanted to be part of. Most importantly, she made it clear that the stress of all this family drama was not good for her recovery. I was able to express how hurt I felt by their apparent lack of respect for my business and my judgment. I explained that the raised voices and demands were particularly difficult for me to handle, and that I felt like I was being punished for trying to help Lana rather than being appreciated for offering her an opportunity. The breakthrough came when my parents finally explained what was really driving their behavior. Apparently, before Lana and I were born, my mother's cousin had struggled with addiction and mental health issues, and the situation had ended tragically with suicide. My parents were terrified that Lana might follow a similar path, and they saw a co-ownership position as a way to give her something permanent and secure that couldn't be taken away. Understanding their fear helped everything make sense. They weren't trying to take advantage of me or undermine my business. They were desperately trying to protect Lana in the only way they could think of. Their behavior was still inappropriate and hurtful, but it was coming from a place of love and terror rather than entitlement. Once we all understood what was really happening, the conversation became much more productive. My parents apologized repeatedly for their demands and their failure to respect my boundaries. They acknowledged that their fear for Lana had made them lose sight of what was actually best for everyone involved. We agreed that family therapy would be beneficial for all of us, and Lana is going to consult with her addiction counselor about finding good family support resources. My parents have been texting me constantly since then, asking if I need help with anything and making sure I'm okay, their way of continuing to apologize. The interview with Lana is still scheduled for this Friday, and I'm genuinely excited about working with her. I've already established clear boundaries about what it means to work for me, making sure she'll have structure without enabling any unhealthy behaviors. When we find a family therapist, I plan to get additional guidance on how to best support her recovery while maintaining appropriate professional relationships. Looking back, I'm actually impressed with how quickly we were able to resolve this conflict. My family has never been good at letting tensions linger. We're the type of people who can't go to bed angry with each other. While things might be a little awkward for a while, I feel confident that we're all committed to making this work. The most important thing is that Lana is getting the support she needs for her recovery, while also having an opportunity to work in a field she's passionate about. My parents understand that their fears, while completely understandable, were being expressed in ways that weren't helpful for anyone. And I've learned that sometimes family conflicts that seem impossible to resolve are really just misunderstandings wrapped in fear and love. Lana just celebrated 3 months without a relapse, and I couldn't be prouder of her progress. Having her work with me won't solve all her problems, but it's one more piece of stability and support in her journey toward building the life she deserves.